Hi there, and welcome back to another episode at Station Road. Now, you're probably a little bit curious about today's title. So, modelling scenarios. So, what is this all about? Now, essentially, really, this is the basis of a discussion, really, that I wanted to bring to the channel in regards to quite a number of comments and so forth that have come back over the last few videos regarding this backfilled or filled in tunnel entrance. So before I get started into, I guess, probably a little bit more of a philosophical conversation about modelling scenarios, I just thought I'd like to say, obviously, a huge, massive thank you to everyone who's submitted comments and feedback, suggestions and so forth over the last couple of videos, and of course over all the videos that of course are on my channel. So it's absolutely fantastic that the comments come in and they are greatly appreciated, and there's some wonderful suggestions and of course some really supportive feedback, which is absolutely fantastic. So by all means, don't stop doing that. Keep bringing those comments in. Now, I will apologize, of course, I haven't been able to reply to any comments in such a long time. It's absolutely terrible. I'm a shocking person, and of course I should be sitting down at some point and being able to actually respond individually to some of your comments. But take this as a huge, massive thank you. So some of you may be aware, obviously, the backfilled tunnel, this filled in tunnel, has actually become quite a contentious issue. And I've actually found this really quite fascinating. So there is a number of comments, and of course you'll know who you are, and of course other people who watch this channel are going to know who you are as well in that sense. But it's really driven a little bit of a passionate sort of stream of contention as to this backfilled tunnel, and essentially I guess that it just wouldn't happen. It wouldn't exist. There's no such thing. And I guess in a way, yes, of course it wouldn't exist. It's a model railway. It's just as much make-believe as it is maybe based on real world scenarios. So essentially this is really a discussion I'd like to raise and to dispel really a few myths from what I would class as antagonists, people who sort of like to, maybe even in the most subtlest ways, in the most gentlest ways, the most polite ways, rub things up the wrong way or make assumptions about things that aren't true and so forth. So it doesn't really bother me in the sense that, look, I am open to all feedback. Like, if you want to write in and tell me that what I'm doing is a load of bollocks and it's all crap and I hate your frigging layout kind of stuff, then go for it. And I'm probably asking for it now because there's probably going to be a load of people who are going to do that. But it's no skin off my nose. I mean, I enjoy what I do. I enjoy modelling my layout. I enjoy the fact that, yes, I do research. I do base components and aspects of the layout on potential real world scenarios. But you've got to consider the fact that it's a model railway. If I was to model real world, then I would of course need to build a layout the size of making tracks 4. And I don't have the room for that. So therefore everything's condensed, everything's packed in. So with one particular comment, of course, the chap said it just wouldn't exist. The examples that, of course, that I provided in the previous video, some of the snapshots, that they're deep, long cuttings and so forth. And yes, they are. I know that. But I'm providing it just purely as an example of tunnel entrance that's buried, but you can still see the top of the arch. That's what it's all about. So no, it's not based on the tunnel examples that I provided in the last video. There is a cutting there that does exist. The cutting on my layout does exist. It's just really short and it's not very deep because I can't model a big, deep, long cutting on my layout. I don't have the room for that. So I'm not against people offering their suggestions, comments and so forth, but the antagonist type of comment does bother me, because in reading a comment, and unfortunately, I'm sorry, but you're going to know who you are, but the first thing that this person mentions is, when modelling something, it is often a good idea to research what you are modelling and why it appears the way it does, that the storyline makes sense. And of course, this brings up the Druten Tunnel in the example that I provided. It's at the bottom of a deep cutting. The area is now a quarry where spoil has been tipped into the cutting and runoff has run down the hill, thereby filling in the cutting and burying. The view in your video is actually no longer possible, so yada yada yada. So this is my sort of prime example that unfortunately this person is implying that I don't do research, and it's those things that those aspects that kind of, they just annoy me a little bit. But I should just let it go over my head, because I do a lot of research. I do an awful lot of research when it comes to modelling. It's not sort of willy-nilly whack something down. I do go through a bit of a thought process. So with this particular comment, and of course you'll know who you are, I did respond, but then of course I actually deleted my comment in the end because I thought it was kind of pointless. But in my comment I said, it's my railway and I'll model it how I want to. Now the interesting thing is it didn't stop there, unfortunately, because the person then responded to that comment of, this is my layout, I will model it how I want to, with really at the end of the day another sort of kind of antagonistic approach. And it was, if someone points out an issue on my layout, I prefer to take the approach of, okay, tell me more, I might learn something. If I respond with, it's my layout and I do it how I like it, and shoot the messenger approach, it would show that I'm not interested in learning anything. I just, why would you say that? It makes no sense. I'm always interested in learning new things. Just don't write it. It's unnecessary. This is a polite antagonist. There's no other way of saying it. So with that all said, and of course, yep, you'll know who you are. There's also another chap who also commented and said this wouldn't exist, as there's, you know, it wouldn't be backfilled, it would be bricked up instead. Now, this is where we talk about modelling scenarios. So in the first video, I referenced how there was a realignment, how the tunnel that's now filled in was the original line, and later on they actually did a realignment, and it was to do with gradients and curves. Now, what I can actually say is, to extend upon that point, is not only was that the issue, but also the fact that the tunnel was actually unstable. We've got historic cottages and farm buildings up on the hill. There's subsidence, it's a precarious hillside with a water reservoir further up on the hill. So with that said, they couldn't just simply brick it up. It actually needed support. The tunnel had to be filled in order for the hill not to completely collapse and subside, fall down onto the road and onto the adjacent railway yard and goods yard. So there's your scenario. There's the reason why it is the way it is. This is the reason why it's not bricked up. It's filled in because of ground stability. And the interesting thing is that people actually made that suggestion, made those comments. So there's some people thinking laterally. There's some people thinking, there is a reason behind all of this. So for all of those who think laterally, well done, congratulations. And also, in saying this, as I've mentioned, I certainly don't want to discourage anyone from leaving comments in the videos, because that's what it's all about. You know, generate some banter. If you guys want to have it out on my comments in a video about what is correct, what is not correct, by all means go for it. I find it fascinating. It's interesting how people think. It's interesting what sort of makes people tick and so forth. Like that in itself is interesting. And there are so many different ways that a railway can be modelled, and there is no wrong way of doing it. nor is there the true correct way of doing it. Yes, there are the people out there who will model a scene exactly as it is, absolutely down to the millimetre, and to do that you need an awful lot of space, or you're only taking a small section of a real life scenario, real life situation. In my situation, of course, it's all entirely make-believe, but it's based on real world scenarios, so there's elements within the layout that of course give you the impression that there is some form of, I don't know, sort of like a plausible scenario. Like, yes, it could be there, it could happen, this could be relatively plausible, but yeah, that's my layout, that's the way it's meant to be, that's the way I enjoy building this layout, and it's the way that I enjoy being able to share this with all of my viewers and subscribers. So there we have it. That's certainly food for thought, and of course I've also taken you through the process of preparing the dried sculptor mold and painting it just a base brown, so it's all now ready for some scenic material. And the interesting thing is that the base brown, of course, now that we haven't got that harsh snow white going on there, of course you can now actually see how it blends in a little bit better with the surrounding scenery, so you get a better idea of how it's actually going to look. And you know, once you start adding foliage and all these other things and that, then it's going to look even more sort of plausible and convincing. So a different story today, a different episode, and I certainly hope you found it sort of interesting. Maybe it's a little bit more of a look into myself, you know, the way I sort of think, my thoughts and all that kind of thing. Could be interesting. Might think it's a load of garbage. That's just me. So with the base colour now done, of course, in the next episode what I'll actually do is get into some of the scenery and the scenics, so the base scatters, static grass and all that kind of thing, and we'll really start to sort of bed that tunnel entrance into the scene and, you know, give it even more of an authentic look. So I certainly hope you've enjoyed today's video and got some, well, interesting ideas, thoughts out of my conversation. So do take care, everyone. Look after yourselves. Of course, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will catch you next time. Bye for now.